not hip, that means you're not hip.
You're probably still listening to Rod Stewart, and you're like, "Oh, he's my jam today." And
Forever young.
He's my jam. All right, we're just starting off really early with it. Good morning, welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so I had an idea to talk about something today. See, he's gonna go.
Anytime Sarah has an idea, it means the rest of us have to do some
work. Yeah, we're in for it.
No, so topic. I was thinking this morning: forgiveness. Do you think you're a good forgiver?
Forgiveness.
Why were you thinking of that? Who do you need to forgive?
Yeah, guilty conscience.
I think we're just bringing up a topic. I don't think we have to dive. I'm not going to lay on the couch. I just think we're bringing up do you think you forgive?
Get on your back on the floor like usual and tell us all about it.
Do you forgive and forget? Do you hold grudges? Do you feel like you just let stuff go and you just don't think about it? Do you feel like
this feels like there's something you need to talk about. Share.
What did you hear?
I have nothing to share.
Sorry, I'll bite Sarah. I hold grudges for years and years.
Drew got it.
Grudger? I got it.
Yeah.
You do hold grudges?
I do.
Do you realize you hold them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And some of them are deserved, so I just let them kind of sit there. And then some of them I'm like, okay, I can let that one go. It's over. Like I guess maybe I'm both, because certain situations I can be like, oh, well, that happened and move on. But yeah, sometimes I like to hold on to them. They keep me warm at night.
Oh.
Warm at night. Are you plotting the end or what?
Yeah. Get the shovel, get a rope.
She's got the...
As long as you plant the endangered plants on top of the body.
I just saw that meme. I love that, right? Yeah. More gardening tips from me later.
You got your list and your red lipstick?
Right? And the gun.
And the gun, he's off.
Do you know what that's about?
Billy Madison.
Yeah. Becky got awful quiet. Her eyes got big and she did that face, and then now she's been quiet. Because
of the lipstick, or?
No, I think Becky needs a couch. No, the topic.
Oh.
I don't need a couch.
Just a lounger.
Yeah, maybe
a recliner.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I have a tendency just to push things down and keep going. And then they just pop up unexpectedly.
See?
I do hold grudges depending on the situation. Depends on what it is.
Okay.
I don't know that I care enough, I think. Does that sound bad?
Yeah.
No, because
for me it's like a control piece. So why would I give you more control if you've pissed me off or done something that it impacts my life more?
Right.
But I think it depends on if it's work or if it's personal. I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about work? Are we talking about personal life?
Just topic in general.
Either. Yeah. I was trying to think if I ever
some people are easier to forgive than others too. Yeah. And I don't know if that's because maybe you don't care, or they asked for it, or they acknowledged wrongdoing. So it's easier to go, oh, all right, let's go for the 80th chance. Right? Or do you ever really let it go? Do you just pretend that it's like Chip? You just pretend?
I don't think you ever forget.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Drew. Like, I tend to let things go, but if something happens again, it's still kind of there in the back of your mind that there was something. Like, it's not really gone, but if the same person kind of violates you again, you're like, this is not the first time this has happened.
Once bitten, twice shy. It's not just.
Because to what you just said, I mean, like, we all have soft spots sometimes for people. Like, we have an employee we've retired like 7 times. If you ask either one of us why, like, I don't know that either one of us have an answer, even though we could tell you every single time why we parted ways to begin with.
Or has anyone ever taken an ex back?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Those are all mistakes.
Chip got really quiet right there.
I love water.
I'll have water.
He got super quiet on that.
Depends on what the use is for. Remember, we had this conversation.
Ex? Took an ex back? What are you talking about? I've never had an ex.
I always tell people X sex is good sex.
Yeah.
Because there's hate involved.
Yeah. There's payback.
But don't you think like you know more, so now you think it's going to work? Because I think whether it's a friendship or whether it's an ex or whether it's like an old employee or whatever, you feel like if you like them, you think, well, I learned something, and so maybe they're different or I'm different, and so now maybe it'll work.
So I kind of feel like we should be asking Sarah who we're taking back that we don't want to.
No.
To get us all warmed up to the idea.
What ex are we taking back? Yeah.
No one. What were
We're
we?
going to forgive.
There was something we talked about this week, and it reminded, I don't know if Drew brought it up or someone else brought it up, of just like letting go of stuff and being able to kind of, but then do you really, or just go, well, we just won't talk about it now in front of Drew because, right? You see what Becky's saying? She's like, because you were the bigger person and you called us out on it. And so now I feel like it's like, well, is it gone? Did we just go, oh, okay, now like some of that stuff is gone? Or do we just go, don't talk about it in front of Drew? Just Drew's here, talk about something else.
I think
Look
I
at
might
that
sound,
lovely bush over there.
I think
Isn't
I might
that-
sound terrible, but yeah, I don't, when I say I don't care enough, it's kind of like names for me. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I struggle with, like, if I meet you for the first time, I will forget your name. Like, that's me. And so I think like in some of those contexts, unless it's something, I was trying to think of something really meaningful that I would have hung on to, that I just don't give enough power to it, I guess, in that context.
Which
Like
is
dwelling
healthier.
on.
Interesting. I can let things go. The name thing does not reflect with me though, because I'm really big on learning people's names and learning how to pronounce them. Because I think the most disrespectful thing I can do is not to know someone's name and not to know how to say it correctly, because that means I can't be bothered to know who you are.
Well,
I do too, but I'm talking about like in the first, like, I guess if you meet somebody in a first setting meeting, right? It's like
and it depends how fast you meet them too.
Exactly.
I feel
Yeah.
like, right? Like when you're at a networking function, you're like, hi, this is Tom. This is Dick.
Exactly.
This is Gary. This is Bob. This is and you're like, and then you don't see them for like a year. And then they're like, hey, Sarah,
yeah,
I got nothing.
that's the
Like-
hey man.
Yeah. Hey, you.
Hey man, how
Hi,
you
kitten.
doing?
What's up today? No,
Now
but
I'm giving away my
like,
clues.
I think that's different. But if you really like meet someone and you generally are, like you're getting into a conversation about what they did, where they grew, I mean, then I think you kind of remember their name. But I feel like in the beginning, if it's just
Do you remember their names?
I don't.
Yeah. I think
Brittany
it
could
takes
never say my name right as long as we work
I'm like,
together.
This is gonna
Ever.
sound funny, but and obviously you are white, D. But she made your name sound even whiter than you are.
Yes. D'Andrea.
You gave
D'Andrea.
everyone a break because you just said, just call me D. No one would do it.
Like it's
No
one
one's
letter.
does it. Just say D, and everyone's like, is it Deanda? What? Just say D. Yeah, I don't get that. No, I'm bad at names regardless, Chip. But I feel, I will own
If
that.
you've
But
ever seen The Devil Wears Prada, Sarah and I are like her, because I stand behind Sarah at networking events and goes, "This is Nick. That's so and so from Olsen and Olsen.
Olsen
This
and
person
Olsen,
works
I
for
know.
Amazing Home Care."
Okay, those I don't. But yeah, I'm like, who is that? He's like, Sarah, you've met them 18 times. We're at their house. Oh, okay. Well,
Or even
you
worse,
had
it's an
that one
employee. I'm
guy-
like, they've worked here for 8 years. Like,
no, that's not true. If I've met them and know them, I just haven't seen every. And you guys have to admit, like, some people look
your
very
nose
different.
is growing right before me, liar.
Well, that's true. But some people look very different on camera than when you see them in person. Then by the time you see them, they've cut their hair or they've done something. I'm like, I don't know. Takes me a minute
We're
sometimes.
using it as an excuse now.
Or they
You see
wear
the look
wigs.
on Chip's face.
Yeah, or they wear wigs. Yeah.
I don't think it's working.
Right. Well, that's not even our
I'm
topic.
like, well,
How
that
about
was
you just
so and so.
forgive
They've
me?
worked here for 7 years.
How about
Are
forgive
you
me
sure
for
they
being
look
bad at
different?
names?
Nope, they look the exact same they've always looked.
Did you get glasses? Did you gain or lose weight? Is that a different color? No, that's true. Okay,
You
but
can lie to yourself all you want, but
no, you're not supposed to ever lie to yourself. Well, you're not supposed to lie to others, but never lie to yourself. But no, I was thinking more. I think there's a little bit of Becky in me. I think that I tend to feel like I've
A little bit of
forgotten
Becky.
or I'm fine, and then something comes up and then it's like a soft
Trigger.
spot.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, I'm still kind of like, that's not okay. But then you know me and feelings, I could just ignore everything. So I'm like, that's fine. Maybe it's not fine. I'm going to be that person, you know, talk about the serial killer episode that we talked about. That's going to be me because it's going to be like, that one time you took my pen, lost it.
No one took your pen. It's in your boobs.
Yeah. Fell down your shirt
One
again.
time.
Or your phone.
And I'll never forget it because
Not
you
these
accused
sizes
me
anymore.
of being the thief.
I did not accuse anyone. I inferred. There's a difference.
I wasn't there, but I've heard this story, and I'm on Chip's side.
I inferred
you were-
that
If
someone.
anything is ever missing around Sarah or been stolen, we know the first place to look.
Yep.
I do, but yeah, it's not like a. Anyway, the phones are bigger now, so you can't really pocket those like you used to be able to. But no, so I don't know. I think forgiveness is an art. I think you have to practice it.
Art.
I do, because I don't think not caring, that's different. Is that just you really don't care? Or is that just you turn off your emotions so you don't have to go through the process of forgiveness? Ooh,
No.
look who just got called out.
No, I think it's I mean, if there's like I've forgiven people, of course, right, for what they do, but I'd also I guess what I mean is I don't dwell on, I might be quick to forgive, maybe, I guess. Quick to forgive.
I agree with Drew. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you don't get to rent space in my head if you're not really relevant to me.
Right.
Like,
Right.
if what you do day to day or your actions or who you are in my life isn't relevant to me, like, I kind of like you with emotions. Like, if someone crosses me, like, I can cut them off with a dime and, like,
Oh,
doesn't affect me. I don't think about it. I don't dwell on it. I'm like,
Dead.
they're dead to me.
Yeah. But that's also not super healthy either,
Right.
to be honest. Like, I mean, you know, you can really
Well-
care about someone and like that, you're like, nope, it's off.
It's like we talked about the other day when I told you, like, have you gone back to apologize? So take it the other way. Have you gone back to apologize and seek forgiveness?
Well, exactly. I would agree
If
with
someone's
that.
mad at me,
Well, just in general, like, do you think some people hold on and don't forgive because then they would have to admit where they went wrong
Yeah.
and what they could have done differently?
what kind of topic is this? This is terrible.
It's all about forgiveness. You said it.
It takes two to tango, and
That's
regardless
right.
of what
I think
happened,
you're
both
quick
parties
to
had
apologize.
a side in the situation.
I
Wait.
feel like I'm quick to apologize because I just want to like get it over with and let's move on. I don't really care. Like I care, but I don't really care. So I just apologize.
Let's assume someone was given something that someone else was promised, but this other person never talked to the person about what they were promised.
Yeah.
Can
Okay,
the
first
other
of all,
person actually know that
by
they did
the next
something wrong?
morning, I was over it. I was just a little shocked, I have to admit.
I'm just saying, but if the other person
That-
doesn't know they did something wrong, how do they get forgiveness or make amends for that?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't
Innocent.
have to happen now because I don't care now.
I
just
wasn't
cared for,
talking
like,
about
2
you. I
hours.
was using a very
You're
vague
using an example.
No, you weren't. You were totally calling me out. I was just shocked for like 4 hours. I was a little miffed and I was a little hurt because it was someone else's to give. And then some.
But have you truly forgiven and let it go? Because otherwise,
Yeah.
like, I don't
No,
know
I'm
how
fine.
you can without having a conversation with the other person.
No, because I was fine by the morning.
Mhm.
Because honestly, it's not my place. Like it doesn't matter.
You pulled out this convenient little box that you stuck your feelings in, and you set it to the side,
wrapped it
but
with
they're
a
still
bow.
sitting there.
No, I'm over that one. There are other things I'm not over, but that one I'm over now. I don't care. I'm good.
So now this person doesn't know that they did anything wrong.
No.
Yeah, that's not
like,
right.
Is that what you're
No
saying?
clue. No
It
clue.
could be any of us. That's healthy.
Well, that's why I was asking when you said like.
So
well,
how
did
do you
ask for
forgive someone who
forgiveness?
doesn't
It
know that they
depends.
even wronged you?
Oh, but some people know that they've wronged you. They know.
That's
Come on.
terrifying. Now I'm just like, Sarah, what have I done? Can we talk about turn the cameras off?
That was the other night.
Right. No, first of all, you know when I'm upset. It's not really hard to figure out when I'm upset.
True.
I'm super transparent on that, I think. I think I'm really good at it, but I'm not. But I
You
don't
think this person knew you were upset?
no.
So, but you're super transparent when you're upset.
Okay, that's not true. Actually, I think there are only a few people who can read me well enough to know. Otherwise, everyone else just goes about their merry way and has no clue, to be honest. Unless I'm really upset. If I'm really upset, then you know. And it depends what it is. If it's personal, I think very few people know. If it's work related, I think it's a little bit harder just because it kind of has to come out. Does that make sense? Because I mean, you got to go through a process. It's not like, if it's personal, you can just shut down, change the subject, or fake a stroke. I don't know.
Fake a stroke.
Say a simple sentence.
And then you get prodded at. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Well, that's why I think you just act like everything's fine all
This
the
is
time.
a
and it's
terrible
fine.
topic. I don't know why you thought this was a great
I
topic.
feel like
Not at all.
communication is better than just going about your day.
See, if it's a terrible
Communication?
topic because it's uncomfortable, because
It's
I'm just thinking
uncomfortable
if
for
we
you because
just
you're like, just let it go. Just push it down inside.
no, I'm
Don't worry
saying
about
that's
it.
what I do, and now I'm asking, is that really healthy?
No.
Because I'm always the
No.
person like you're just dead to me. Then, like I don't even recognize.
Because I
if
agree
you're
with what
older
Dee
more.
just said. If
Oh,
you don't
same
have a
thing.
conversation with that other person, can you really forgive and move on?
I think you can forgive without having a conversation because I think that's a you thing, not a them thing.
Mhm.
Some people you're never going. What if somebody dies? They wronged you and then they died. You're never going to get that apology or a chance
which
to
is
have
why
a
people end up in
conversation
therapy
with
because they carry that stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
unless you just let it go. But I'm just saying, do you really let it go? Do you go through the process, or do you just really like stuff it down and go, yeah, they don't matter, but maybe they do? Because you've been hurt, right? I mean, if you think about it, if it's enough that you need forgiveness or there's a forgiveness piece in there, then that means your feelings were hurt in some way.
I think forgiveness is overrated. That's my stance.
See,
We'll
maybe
just
it
we'll
is.
just hate people.
It's just overrated.
Just hate them.
Nobody
move on.
cares anyway.
Let's move on.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I think I apologize if I do something wrong.
So I'm always impressed when you like see these. All right, so say that you see these criminals that kill somebody, right? And it's always like the parent or a sibling that. Not always. There's those times where like literally in the courtroom and they are like, "I forgive you," and they like it's not. Those
Mhm.
are powerful moments, I think, where I forgive
we
Chip for
lost Chip.
disappearing. Yeah.
Mm.
That for me, I don't know that I would say I wouldn't overcome, right? So if somebody murdered my child and I was in the courtroom or harmed my child or something, and they're just,
Yeah.
that always blows my mind where you literally just sat through an entire trial. We found somebody guilty, and then the parents are like, "I forgive you," and off to prison you go.
But again, because I don't think it's about that person, it's about them, right? Because you don't want to carry it around. So you
100%. So I think that's pretty incredible. But I'm just saying, for me, in the not that I blow everything off, but in something that extreme, I think I would really struggle with letting that one go.
Yeah, like if somebody cuts me off in traffic, I don't need an apology, or you might just be like
Right.
jerk or whatever, and nobody cares, right? But
Yeah,
I mean,
some
I'm
people
talking
take
about,
that to the degree, right? I mean, you talk about road rage. I mean, that's where that's crazy.
well, right?
Yeah.
People do, yeah. There are people who are nuts, but I mean, I think it's more. I don't know. I think the closer this makes sense, right? Because but the more intense the betrayal is, I feel like the harder it is to forgive that.
Sure.
Like the more you trusted someone, and then there's the whatever happened or the whatever the thing is, I feel like that's a harder. So I don't know.
Well, I was trying to think of it in context, like that's extreme killing or a divorce or whatever. I mean, I was trying to think of those things where it's gonna sound terrible. Even in my divorce, I didn't really. I was like, all right, it was a time for me. We're moving on, whatever.
But a lot of people don't do that. They're like super angry and
Right.
they want to hurt each other,
Right.
and it becomes very destructive.
Right. I think it depends on how emotional you are, emotionally attached to things, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm a destructive, angry person. Maybe
Yeah, you're
more
not doing-
self-destructive because then I like obsess about it, but not like to someone. I mean, I could be, but I don't want to go to prison.
Have you ever been in a situation where you're not going to get the apology, so you have to this is actually one of my favorite ones because I get to break stuff. You write it out, like go to the thrift store and get a plate, write out like all the things or that you want to say or that you wish they would say, and then you smash it
On them?
and you let it go.
On them?
No,
Oh, I'm like,
that's
That'd be a
different.
crime.
do that? Is that
That's
a
how you
thing?
catch a case.
That'd be
but-
crime.
Ordering a
Of course you would go there.
right now. Okay, I want the heaviest plates I can find.
That's how you catch a
You have to, like,
case.
smash it over their head and be like, I forgive you.
Sarah writes it out on a sledgehammer.
Right? I'm not a violent. I mean, I don't mean it that way, but I don't know that I don't get a release from that.
I think it's all how you
That
take
just
care of
makes me
yourself.
feel
I
better.
mean, I
I
think
don't feel like, but
this might be a huge generalization, of course, but it feels like if I have to go to that extreme of breaking or doing, what am I doing throughout my entire day or life to prepare for things that are out of your control, right?
Right.
I
yeah.
think that's where some people are struggle. They have no outlet, and then when that comes, that's what it comes to, right? I don't know.
There he is.
You just got so upset about the topic.
Hey, we forgive you for jumping.
My computer literally popped up this big blue screen that I've never seen before and said, "We've ran into an error. We're sending the data to so and so, and we're rebooting."
Shouldn't
have
we
to
give
stay
him a chance to
off those
apologize before we just forgive him? Stay off those sites.
I'd only do that in my personal computer, not my work computer.
He learned once. Yeah, he already had to say sorry. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because I just thought sometimes I think we are so quick to either forgive because we don't really want to go through the process, or I think we don't necessarily want to acknowledge that someone had the power enough to hurt us. That's more me. Like, I think that's
Agreed.
my thing is I don't want to acknowledge someone had the power to actually hurt me. But then I go, well, they did, because otherwise I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah,
Why would I care then? So obviously I care if I'm mad. So then I can get hurt. And then I go, oh, I got to fix that so I can never get hurt again.
But what about the other person's intentions? Doesn't that matter? Like, what if they,
Oh,
what if
absolutely.
they meant to do it, right? They knew exactly what they were doing and they chose to hurt your feelings or do something against someone. And what if it was just accidental?
Okay. So I think
that's possible.
yes, but
Oh,
I think here's the question. Do you know when it is all the time? Because I think that's really
No.
what we always struggle with, right? Is I'll say something and Chip goes, they knew exactly what they were doing. And I'm like, did they? Because I don't know. You talk to them and they're like oblivious. Like they have no concept of what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like the apology, because this really irritates me. Do not say you're sorry if you're not sorry to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not get an apology than some trite whatever to pacify me. That just pisses me off. I don't
But
like
there's
that.
a difference in someone being manipulative and know what they did and they deny that they're not that kind of person versus
Mm-hmm.
someone truly not knowing that they violated you to that point.
Right.
I think we need to pick another word from violate you. That
I
just
think
sounds
so,
so
too.
aggressive when you guys say that. I got violated.
violated.
Well, I just figure, for me, if I'm forgiving you, like you've really wronged me in some way. Like it's extraordinarily personal. Like if it's just something in passing, like let it go, move on, like get over it. Like with being a sensitive Sally, like
Well, that part, yes. Yeah. Because we do
So
have
to me,
like,
if I'm forgiving you, I've been violated. Like you really wronged me some way.
Mhm.
Like
yeah, because I think there are like two types. I'm sure there's a spectrum, right? But there's like butterflies and rhinos. Butterflies, like the wind blows too hard or it slightly gets damp or anything. And
I
they're
don't want to
just
hear
like,
about weather whatsoever today.
oh, I'm so sick of
Drew
wind.
doesn't even
But-
know the story. He's laughing. I'll have to tell you later.
They're so like just delicate, right? Like you even, I mean, they can hardly even, even when they land, they're like, oh my God, I'm just so tired. And then you have like a rhino who like keeps taking it over and over and over again, right? Just because they look so tough. And then you go, maybe the butterfly actually never feels anything because they feel everything. And then maybe the rhino is actually super sensitive. And that's why it had to create that external shell to protect itself because it always got. And so which one really is more sensitive? You can't really tell by the appearance.
I like that. But does it have to be a rhino?
No, it's just a very thick skin. I don't.
I can't get out of my head when you just said the rhino keeps taking it. That
It's a rough life out there on the safari.
Chip's like,
I'm
I
just
wanted
now.
my
I'm now
spirit
picturing
animal.
a
My
giraffe
spirit animal is
violating
a
a
rhino.
rhino, and
See, you
I
went,
was just gonna say.
you went there. I
my
went
spirit
Jim
animal's a
Carrey.
rhino. We're gonna
Remember
call
Jim
Chip,
Carrey coming out of the rhino?
Yeah.
That's where I was in my
call
head.
Chip
I'm like,
the rhino from now on. But you know what I mean? Because I feel like some people who are like so dramatic about always being wronged, or they always have like an emotion to share, or there's always like
That's a victim.
everything is such a big
But
deal.
that's a victim, and
Victim. Yeah.
I know most of us on this screen are not good with victims. Like, if that's your personality, like I probably wouldn't be friends with you. I'm not going to feel sorry for your victim mentality because that's all I see.
Yeah, that's hard to deal with.
Because if everything's wrong all the time, how do you sympathize when anything is wrong?
Right.
That's
I don't know.
criminal.
Yeah. Well, we were
I
just
don't know.
talking about somebody the other day that was like that. He was very hard to deal with because everything was always wrong.
Which, what a shitty way to live life. Think about like if everything is wrong. Like, I mean, come on. You know,
Right.
like, when can it ever go
I,
right?
I can't imagine living with that attitude every day of the world's against me, everything's wrong,
Oh,
nothing's ever
God.
right. Like
Yeah, my
that
coffee
cannot
was
be a
too
happy
hot.
way to go about life.
Well, and I feel like, okay, now it's not even on topic, but it doesn't matter. I feel like those people are the ones that post all the time about narcissists and about toxic personalities and about all this stuff. Like, I'm like, what people have you run across in your life? Because I think we've run across a lot of people and a lot of different personalities and a lot of in our career, right? A lot of mental health issues, a lot of other stuff. But there's always those people that everyone in their world is a narcissist, is a, you know, they're toxic, they've been taken advantage of. It's a constant stream of woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you have to push that image out, like you're probably the narcissist.
Right? Well, that's
Right,
what
you
I'm
want
saying.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because how
It's
many
the whole
times,
martyr thing.
I think narcissists are real. I mean, I really do. I think they are real. But then I think it's just like everything else we talk about. The more that you normalize the word narcissist, you're taking away from people who have truly experienced that.
Right.
Right? Just like toxic trait. I think we all have like bad habits or bad personalities, but a really toxic trait, that's like not, I like to spend money.
I would agree with that.
Yep.
Everybody's posting like you've dealt with an abuser, a narcissist, you've been gaslighted, all like
Oh, I hate that word.
sometimes
Well-
people have just had bad days or yeah, you went through a bad experience, but you weren't, I don't know.
It's because
That probably sounds like offensive and insensitive, but
we've kind of made it popular to be a victim in our culture. That's the
Mhm.
issue, rather than be the strong one. I mean, forget it. You know, it's just a
And then when you're strong, no one checks in on you because you're strong, so you're fine. Everything's fine. It's
I
always
know
fine.
that's the truth. No one ever checks in on me.
that's not true.
Becky, what do you think?
I agree. I think the more we bring things like that to light and we just use the term, people just use a term without really knowing what it means, what people go through. It just becomes the norm when, then people that are actually going through things like that, it's minimized.
Mm-hmm.
I think COVID has just really made everybody really sensitive. I don't know how, you guys, but people are so sensitive.
Why do you think that is? Do you feel
I
like that's
don't
because
know.
they got stuck at home and they were protected, like from interacting with people?
I don't know, but I mean, I would love someone to disagree with me because half the time you can't even say your thought and people take offense to it. So I'm
Devil's
just more
advocate.
quiet because I don't want to argue with anybody for something so stupid.
Right. Devil's advocate, maybe everybody just spent a lot of time during COVID in therapy and became very self-aware, and that's
reflective.
why.
I'm sure that's what it is.
I
I've
spent
had
too
a
much time on
therapist
social
for
media.
many years that I am not ashamed to talk about because it's the best thing in my life. And she
Oh
is
my
not
God,
maybe super
what?
sensitive.
What's
Uh-oh.
the name again, Chip?
You just offended somebody. You better
Over me?
forgive. You better
Best
forgive.
thing in your life?
You better stuff that emotion down.
What did you say? I missed it.
I said my therapist is the best thing in my life.
Well, therapy's fantastic if you need
I,
it.
I preach it from the mountaintops that everyone should have a therapist. Like
Oh
everyone.
yeah,
Like
I've had years of
Sometimes not
therapy.
your
the
friend
world would
too.
probably not be as sensitive and would be a better place if everyone had a therapist.
I thought that was Sarah. I thought Sarah was my therapist. Isn't that why I pay her that little bit under the table?
Oh, honey, you're gonna be so fucked up if she's your therapist.
That's just a surcharge. That's just a surcharge. No,
Sarah's gonna be like, You just stuff those emotions in a box, honey. This
Yours
is
are
your
fine.
therapy. Don't
Yours
feel
is
it. Don't think
fine.
through it. Just
Yours is
ignore it.
Put a bow on it. It'll be good.
Smile and say everything is fine.
It's fine.
And
Everything's
when everything's
fine.
not fine, drink some tequila and everything is fine.
Take a nap, spend some money, go buy some shoes. Everything's fine. No, I totally get it. Like I think friends and your team, right? Your group, I think can be a therapist in a lot of ways. I think though it's different when you have someone that you don't know to share everything with.
You need an uninterested third party who
Right.
is not involved in the day-to-day and doesn't have an investment.
Right. My only thing in that, and this is controversial, this is another subject, but is that part of what like I feel like is if I went to therapy and I was talking about whatever, how do they know what I'm saying is actually reality and legit?
I will tell you, if it's a
Your
good therapist,
reality.
they can see through the bullshit. Like,
Well, they don't think it matters.
and at the end of the day, it's what we say. Your reality is your reality, whether it's true or not, and you've got to deal with that. And so,
Yeah, okay, well that's true too. Because I'm like, they're only hearing one side of the story. So if you're going in, right, and you're like, oh, my whatever, and then they don't hear the other side, I always go, well, that seems not.
but I think if we're being
working through the
honest, you can
process.
share the other person's side of the story.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
otherwise,
But you're
not being honest.
self-reflective. Not everyone is self-reflective. So
But
I
they
don't
don't.
know.
I mean, it's about you.
But those people
You go
aren't
to-
typically in therapy.
Yeah, you go to therapy for you. You don't go to therapy for them, right?
That's
So they
true.
It doesn't really matter.
That's true. That's true. My problem is I have like very small windows of opportunity for feelings and emotions and my ability to talk about them, like a very small window. And it'll come out and then that thing snaps shut and I don't know when it's going to open again. So we would have very long sessions of me sitting there going, not today, kitten, not today.
I think if you had a good one, like a couple of weeks ago, like within 5 minutes, I was crying, and I'm like, "Where the hell did this come from?"
Well, that sounds awful.
Self-awareness.
Crying is actually healthy, but
It's like you're paying someone to cry.
It's getting rid of trauma.
They do have a cuddle person. Have you guys heard that thing?
No,
There's someone
absolutely
who
not.
you pay to cuddle you.
We should
What?
send one to Dee's house.
It's
Do
a
not.
thing. It's called a cuddle therapist, and you actually, it's not dirty. Chip, get your mind out of the gutter. I can see his face already. But you're fully clothed, whatever. You can be sitting, you can be lying on a couch. They can just be behind you, whatever you're comfortable with. But you basically pay them just to hold you. I did not know that was a thing.
I'm
Go
good.
to a
Okay.
cuddle therapist.
Whatever works, I guess.
That sounds so uncomfortable. And I would have to pay them to put me through that. Absolutely not.
Yeah, you're paying to do that.
To cuddle. Nope.
if they're good looking, I'd do it.
That's the problem. There ain't gonna be no good looking one. Let's be honest.
I would have to screen the cuddlers in advance.
Let's be honest.
So
That ain't gonna
Tinder.
be-
We just need to get on Tinder.
Yeah, Tinder.
Well, because good-looking people get cuddles. It's only the ones that and then you'd be like, no, I don't.
But,
want to
but if
cuddle
you have like meth teeth and stuff like that, yeah, no, we're not
Yeah,
cuddling.
you're not going there.
right. Like the scary people are like, I want to be a cuddle therapist just so I get touched. No, thank you.
You'll be in touch with your
I think-
feelings.
I'm sure you
For
talk
me,
at the same time.
and I think I'm a pretty open person, especially with my therapist, is that like you'll be feeling something or going through something, and I'll give you a real life example. I had 2 patients a few weeks ago, and I never carry my patients around. I mean, I've been working in healthcare for 23 years, 24 years, and I never carry that stuff around. And I had 2 patients that I just couldn't let go of, and I started talking to her about it, and this is when she made me cry. And she put it into context as to why I couldn't let them go. And I was like, holy shit. But I couldn't make that connection myself.
Yep,
Isn't that
been there.
terrible when the light bulb goes off?
But as soon as she said it, I was like, yep, that's it right there.
So have every single one of us gone to therapy at one point or another, or seen a therapist at one point or another?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they still do.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are just shy or have
They're
shame
regular.
around it and don't want to talk about it. But I literally preach it from the mountaintops that people absolutely could use that.
No, I did. I did.
Uninterested party.
I did 3 sessions. I kind of just that was back in like 2012. Lisa, remember Lisa Chip?
Yeah.
It's
The
when
hard
I was
thing I
making
think
the
about
adjustment
it
out west,
is-
and
and I know this wasn't
struggling
on the
with that.
topic for the day, but I think the hard thing is finding the right connection. Because if
You
you
need
don't
the right
connect
one.
with the person, like, because I went through it for years where I'd go to one and like I was like, well, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? And then I'd go to another one and be like, well, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? Until you finally find the right match, you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, I agree with
Well,
that.
there's a trust thing, right?
I think it's a person, yeah, but I think it's also a person. Like for me, I don't know how it was for you, Chip, but like it's the one that can rock you the right way. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Right.
how I put it. So like mine, I've seen her for 15 years now, but I went through several before that, and I just could not get that right connection. And it was just one trigger that was pulled out by this one, and 15 years later, I mean, it still is that thing where knows everything about me, and we got into all those ventures, and it's one of those.
And you
very
don't want to
healthy
bury
things.
her somewhere because she knows everything.
No,
HIPAA.
Well, I
Oh.
have a question. So, Chip and Drew, you just said you see a female therapist. So, is there a difference in gender? Sarah, would you see a female or a male therapist?
well, so that's a great question. So mine is professionally driven. So you want to talk about the sexes, right?
Mhm.
I think what shocked me when I first met her was that she could step into a male dominant environment and handle it the way that it was done. And so that kind of first jolted me a little bit. I was like, wow, like, because it is one of the leaders at the time in our industry was a male predominant psychologist and in the field. And it was a male driven staff too, kind of trying to relate men to men, I think.
Mhm.
But she was one of the first females in Colorado that got involved in this industry, and it's just her personality, I think, is what it is. She's able to handle those things, and so I wouldn't say it's necessarily men versus women, because I've had two of the ones that really crashed and burned were women on that side, and then the men I had I just couldn't relate to. I guess I would say, like,
Mhm.
it's almost like you have to be. It's hard to in my world. It's hard to provide therapy to something you've never done, experienced, or had any involvement in. Kind of like just think about when you're coming into a workforce. Like if you've never done it before, how do you have credibility? And so I think that's the key for me.
That makes sense.
You know,
I think that's I don't know. That's a hard question. I mean, at least for me, because mine was, I had like 3 very targeted sessions, and mine was, let me tell you what my problem is. And then the next one, and then it was give me stuff that I can do to deal with. And it really, I mean, it was me, but it was other people, if that makes sense. And so how do I adjust to what's happening? Give me tools. And then the next time I met her, I said, this is what I'm doing. This is working. This isn't. And then the third time I met her, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I got it. I'm fine. And then I didn't go back. Not saying I don't need therapy. I'm just saying that's all I did. I am so not a trusting person that I don't know. I think I can see both sides for me would be hard because number one, I don't know what I talk about when I talk about it because it depends just what comes out. And then I would think maybe I'd feel more comfortable with a female, but most of the time I think I relate more to men. So I don't know. But if
That's what I would say is every week when I go to therapy, I have zero agenda, and all of a sudden the hour's gone, and you're like, what did we just talk about?
mm-hmm.
Because you don't go into an agenda of what you're going to talk about typically unless something has happened. And so,
well, or you could be going to therapy to work through something. I mean, like
Sure.
but the
topic of
thing is
forgiveness,
you don't
right?
typically like just turn on the camera and be like, okay, let's talk about sex abuse. Like it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
you work through other things, and those things just kind of intertwine and
The
interweave
surface.
throughout things.
Yeah.
That
Mine was red lights. It was like how that's kind of how it was triggering. Like, let's go back and figure out how many red lights you ran. You know, it's easier to look back and connect the dots, and obviously going forward, right? So just kind of they worked their way. That was kind of one thing that triggered for me was how many in that relation. Obviously, what I did, how many lights did you run in your life? Like you start looking at okay, and then like to Chip's point, we're focused on something so minor, and all of a sudden it was like whew, we're way over here. I didn't even expect that to come, and here it went.
You go from A to Z, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, what just
Yeah.
happened? Like,
Well, and do you find that, and again, going back to the topic, how much of it is forgiving someone else and how much is it of forgiving yourself and the process of that? Because I think sometimes it's like, yeah, you were hurt, someone hurt you. So there's like that forgiveness thing that you're trying to work out of a betrayal or a whatever. But then is it really you forgiving other people, or really is the battle over the lifelong journey that we're on is to forgive yourself when you're not what you expect?
I think that's a little bit more difficult. I think you hit the nail on the head. For a lot of us, I think forgiving yourself is way more difficult. I can forgive people quite easily, but myself,
Yep.
oh no.
Yeah,
That's
and those
not
are
gonna
when the
happen.
conversations get really hard. And I can tell you, I think I hear my therapist say a lot when the light bulb moment happens, she'll go, so you learn from a very early age that X. Oh crap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's kind of what the process is sometimes, right? I think by learning to forgive other people, we do like I don't remember who said I'm quick to forgive. Maybe that was Drew, and I kind of forget it. But does that mean you're good at that with yourself? Or do you extend grace to other people that you don't ever extend to yourself? And then are you more upset because there's some grace you need to extend to yourself in that situation? And so it makes it more painful because you didn't forgive yourself. So how do you forgive that other person? And that will be $59.99 for that little session.
And you also have to admit that you had a part in the situation because it takes two to tango.
Oh, it always does, but not always. Sometimes people just are not nice and do not nice things.
True.
But are those people really important in your life?
Well, no, it's probably good that they're gone. But I mean, if you want to get deep to what you were talking about, maybe someone is in, look at the, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing we talked about on Monday. I mean, if someone turns around and just slaps you, you may not, maybe you should have seen the red flags. I don't know, but maybe that person was just super drunk or aggressive or whatever. And all of a sudden you're in a situation, you may not have caused that. So I don't always think there's two people in certain situations. If you're the victim of a crime or something, what did you do to deserve that? If someone breaks into your house and beats you, that's not your fault. So I think there are times that it's random.
Maybe it's karma. Maybe it is your fault and just
It's a
unrelated.
butterfly effect.
Something
Just
else.
gotcha. Yep.
So any letters for that, please write them to chipwatson@gmail.com.
You wronged somebody somewhere. So
Well, I think there is karma. I think that's a true thing, but I don't think that's always the case. I don't think we always deserve what happens, if that makes sense. I think we also don't get what we deserve a lot. I mean, if you think about it, right? I think sometimes we get really lucky and we deserve a lot for things we've done in our past. I was not a very nice girl in high school. So
I think most times you get what you earn.
I hope I don't get that replay.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what I'm getting now with all the staff I don't know.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna go drive. You guys have fun chatting.
Where are you going?
To the house.
Oh, that's right.
I have to go to work.
You got work. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I don't know.
Sarah's not used to those of us that have jobs.
It changed. Right. You just got up and rolled out of bed and got on here at 7:30. I don't know. I think it just made me start thinking about how I'm going to act going forward.
Roger.
So I don't know if it